Welcome to our lecture on real-world examples of regulatory concepts for new medical devices, FDA, Health Canada, and EMA. This presentation provides an overview of real-world case studies and advanced regulatory scenarios for medical devices. It covers three major regions: the FDA in the United States, Health Canada, and the European Union under the MDR/IVDR frameworks. The objective is to help regulatory professionals translate theoretical knowledge into practical applications, understanding how diverse regulatory pathways, risk management strategies, and post-market obligations are implemented in complex device development projects. By analyzing these examples, participants will gain insights into strategic decision-making, global harmonization challenges, and best practices for compliance across multiple jurisdictions. Case studies will illustrate key regulatory concepts, from classification decisions, submission pathways, and clinical study design, to quality system implementation and post-market monitoring. Advanced applications will include emerging technologies such as adaptive AI algorithms, 3D printed devices, digital therapeutics, and connected devices with cybersecurity considerations. The presentation equips learners with the analytical framework and strategic planning tools necessary for successful global regulatory submissions and market entry. In this case study, a company developed a wearable glucose monitoring system featuring innovative sensor technology. Navigating the 510(k) pathway required careful selection of an appropriate predicate device to establish substantial equivalence. Regulators closely scrutinized differences in design, materials, and performance. Clinical data was collected to demonstrate that novel features did not compromise safety or efficacy. Post-market surveillance planning included ongoing monitoring of device performance, adverse event reporting, and user feedback collection. The study highlights how combining engineering innovation with rigorous regulatory planning allows sponsors to successfully achieve clearance for novel devices while maintaining compliance and patient safety. It also emphasizes the importance of early FDA engagement and thorough documentation of comparisons with predicate devices. This case illustrates the regulatory pathway for an AI-enabled diagnostic software detecting early signs of retinopathy. Because no predicate device existed, the de novo pathway was pursued, requiring the sponsor to establish low to moderate risk classification and propose special controls. Validation involved demonstrating algorithm accuracy, robustness, and generalizability across diverse patient populations. Human factors studies ensured usability and safety for healthcare providers and patients, including interface clarity and workflow integration. The study underscores the need to integrate software validation, risk management, and user experience considerations within regulatory planning for AI-based devices. This case examines the regulatory submission for a drug-device combination product in Canada. Determining the primary mode of action was critical to define the applicable regulatory pathway. Comprehensive scientific evidence was collected, including clinical and preclinical data supporting safety and effectiveness. The sponsor implemented a robust quality management system, QMS, in accordance with ISO 13485:2016 and participated in MDSAP audits to streamline international compliance. Post-license commitments included ongoing monitoring, adverse event reporting, and quality system maintenance. The study demonstrates the importance of aligning regulatory strategy, clinical evidence, and quality systems to satisfy Health Canada requirements for complex combination products. A company utilized Health Canada's Special Access Program, SAP, to provide a novel orthopedic implant for patients with unique clinical needs. Each case required detailed patient-specific justification, outlining unmet medical need and risk-benefit assessment. Risk management documentation included design verification, failure mode analysis, and mitigation strategies. The sponsor planned a transition from SAP use to full market authorization, collecting real-world data to support a future medical device license application. Data collection protocols ensured quality, traceability, and regulatory compliance. This example highlights the importance of strategic planning, risk documentation, and phased market introduction for innovative devices. This case examines a high-risk Class 3 implantable device transitioning from MDD to MDR compliance. Gap analysis identified areas requiring updated clinical evidence, technical documentation, risk management, and post-market surveillance. The clinical evaluation report was enhanced to meet MDR Annex requirements, integrating recent literature and clinical trial data. Selection of an experienced notified body ensured effective conformity assessment and regulatory review. Registration in the European Database on Medical Devices, UDIMD, and implementation of Unique Device Identification, UDI, supported traceability and vigilance reporting. This case underscores the complexity of transitioning high-risk devices to new regulatory frameworks while maintaining compliance and patient safety. This study explores the regulatory pathway for a companion diagnostic under the EU IVDR. Classification challenges arose due to novel indications and integration with a pharmaceutical therapy. Performance evaluation requirements included analytical and clinical performance data, risk assessment, and interoperability considerations. Close coordination with the pharmaceutical partner ensured alignment on clinical trial design, data sharing, and regulatory timelines. Post-market performance follow-up planning incorporated PMPF metrics, vigilance reporting, and quality system updates. This case demonstrates how multi-stakeholder collaboration and detailed regulatory planning enable successful market entry for complex diagnostics. Global regulatory compliance requires addressing divergent requirements across regions. Clinical trials must be designed to satisfy FDA, Health Canada, and EU MDR/IVDR, often necessitating additional endpoints or regional cohort adjustments. IMDRF guidance and standardized submission templates help harmonize documentation and reduce regulatory friction. Labeling requirements vary by region, requiring language translation, risk communication adjustments, and local regulatory compliance. Timing submissions strategically across regions ensures efficient allocation of resources and optimal sequencing. Participation in MDSAP enables a single audit to meet quality system requirements for multiple jurisdictions, reducing redundant inspections and ensuring consistent compliance globally. This approach illustrates the importance of integrated planning, harmonization, and proactive communication with multiple regulatory authorities. 3D printed patient-specific medical devices introduce regulatory complexities due to customization and additive manufacturing processes. Regulators require detailed validation protocols for printing processes, material properties, and sterilization. Design and clinical justification for individual patient-specific devices must be documented, including risk management for variations in geometry or fit. Quality control includes traceability of each printed device, batch documentation, and verification of mechanical and biological performance. Manufacturers must integrate these considerations into their quality management system to comply with FDA, Health Canada, and EU requirements. This advanced application demonstrates the intersection of innovative technology, regulatory planning, and patient-specific clinical needs. Software as a medical device, SaMD, presents unique regulatory challenges, particularly when adaptive algorithms continuously update based on real-world data. Validation must demonstrate performance, reliability, and safety across expected use conditions. Human factors studies ensure usability for healthcare providers and patients. Cybersecurity and data integrity are critical for connected devices, requiring risk-based assessment, monitoring, and mitigation strategies. Regulators increasingly require post-market monitoring plans to track algorithm performance and maintain compliance. This case illustrates the need for integrated software validation, clinical evaluation, and cybersecurity risk management in global regulatory planning for adaptive SciMD applications. Digital therapeutics and nanotechnology-based medical devices present emerging challenges for regulatory planning. Evidence generation must support safety, effectiveness, and clinical utility. Integration into clinical workflows and interoperability with other healthcare systems must be demonstrated. Safety and efficacy validation, including preclinical and clinical studies, is required to meet FDA, Health Canada, and EU standards. Early engagement with regulators allows sponsors to define acceptable endpoints, testing protocols, and post-market obligations. This emphasizes proactive planning, interdisciplinary collaboration, and strategic use of regulatory pathways to facilitate approval of novel medical technologies. Connected devices, including remote monitoring and IoT-enabled equipment, require rigorous cybersecurity and data privacy controls. Manufacturers must establish secure software update procedures, change management protocols, and vulnerability monitoring. Risk management plans should address potential security breaches and ensure continuous device functionality and patient safety. Global regulations, including FDA guidance on cybersecurity and EU MDR/IVDR requirements, provide frameworks for compliance. Sponsors must integrate cybersecurity considerations into design controls, validation, and post-market surveillance to maintain compliance and protect patients. Developing a comprehensive global market access strategy requires prioritizing target regions based on market size, reimbursement potential, and regulatory complexity. Resource allocation should consider regulatory, clinical, quality, and operational capacities, and timelines should be developed with critical path analysis to identify potential bottlenecks. Contingency planning allows sponsors to respond to unexpected regulatory questions or delays without compromising overall project timelines. Expedited pathways, such as FDA Breakthrough Device Program or EU MDR fast-track provisions, can accelerate access for innovative or high-priority devices. Strategic planning ensures efficient use of resources while maintaining regulatory compliance and maximizing the probability of successful global commercialization. Students will analyze a provided case study of a medical device and develop a detailed regulatory strategy presentation. The task includes identifying appropriate regulatory pathways, planning submissions across FDA, Health Canada, and EU MDR/IVDR, and addressing harmonization challenges. Participants must justify their strategic decisions, including clinical study design, quality system considerations, and post-market planning. Presenting the strategy to peers encourages critical thinking, fosters discussion of regulatory nuances, and reinforces understanding of multi-jurisdictional compliance requirements. Students will participate in a simulated regulatory submission project involving FDA, Health Canada, and EU MDR/IVDR requirements. The exercise includes drafting submission documents, supporting data, and regulatory evidence. Harmonization tools such as IMDRF guidelines and MDSAP audit principles will be applied to streamline documentation. Participants will evaluate simulated regulatory feedback, refine submissions, and learn how iterative processes improve compliance and readiness for real-world regulatory interactions. Students will conduct a comprehensive gap analysis between regulatory requirements in the US, Canada, and EU. This activity requires identifying discrepancies in technical documentation, clinical evidence, labeling, and post-market obligations. Mitigation strategies should be proposed to align submissions, minimize delays, and ensure compliance. By integrating findings into a global submission plan, participants learn how to manage complex multi-jurisdictional regulatory requirements efficiently, preparing them for real-world regulatory affairs challenges. Students will develop a comprehensive post-market surveillance plan addressing FDA, Health Canada, and EU MDR/IVDR requirements. The plan will include mechanisms for monitoring device safety, performance, and adverse events across markets. Participants must design reporting schedules, including periodic safety update reports, vigilance reporting, and corrective actions. Integration with the quality system and risk management framework ensures ongoing compliance and continuous improvement. This exercise reinforces the importance of structured post-market planning for regulatory success and patient safety. Participants will examine regulatory considerations for emerging medical device technologies. This includes software as a medical device, SIMD, with adaptive algorithms, digital therapeutics, nanotechnology-based devices, and 3D, printed patient-specific products. The exercise emphasizes integrating innovative design and functionality with regulatory compliance, including risk assessment, clinical validation, and quality management system alignment. Global regulatory implications, including varying classification, approval pathways, and post-market requirements, are assessed to support successful international commercialization. Students will explore strategic planning frameworks for global medical device development. This includes prioritizing target markets based on regulatory complexity, market size, and reimbursement potential. Resource allocation frameworks help balance clinical, regulatory, and operational capacity efficiently. Timeline development with critical path analysis identifies potential bottlenecks and dependencies. Contingency planning prepares the team to respond to regulatory setbacks without compromising global launch schedules. Leveraging expedited pathways, such as FDA breakthrough device or EU fast-track provisions, further optimizes market entry and reduces time to market for innovative devices. The final slide integrates learnings from all case studies and advanced applications. Students gain practical insights into applying regulatory theory to real-world device development, submission, and commercialization scenarios. Understanding cross-regional harmonization strategies, managing divergent regulatory requirements, and leveraging international programs like IMDRF and MDSAP enhances compliance efficiency. Advanced technologies such as SIMD, 3D, printed devices, and digital therapeutics require proactive planning for validation, risk management, and post-market surveillance. This holistic approach prepares regulatory affairs professionals to navigate complex, multi-jurisdictional challenges, ensuring safe, effective, and compliant global device launches.